So this week we are going to be writing letters, and you're actually going to be writing a letter to yourself. Now, at the beginning of the year, we all wrote letters to our future selves, but now we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to write letters to our past selves. So before we can talk about kind of the things that you're going to need in that letter, we are going to talk about how to make a letter a letter. So we've written letters a couple of times this year, but I just want to refresh your memory here. We have to follow a specific kind of format. So when we're looking at this page of where our letter is going to be, in the top right corner, you are going to start with your heading, which is the address of the person that you're writing to, so where they live. And in this case, since you're writing to yourself, you're not going to need to include that because, well, you're writing it to yourself, so you know where it's going. And then below that, in the top right, you're going to write the date. So you can write it out like 5/14/21, or you can write out the whole date, May 14th, 2021. However you really want to do it. It's kind of just personal preference, but you're going to need to include the date in the top right corner. Then next we have our greeting, and you're going to say to whoever it's to Michael, to Tommy. Or, if you want to be a little bit more personal, you can say dear Tommy or dear whatever their name is. So in this case, you're going to say dear yourself. So you would say, I would say dear Mr. Miller. And then you're going to put a comma there. So make sure you have a comma after your greeting. And then you're going to skip a line, and you're going to jump into the body of your letter. So this is where you're actually going to say the information you want to say. So I'll get down to the contents of your letter in just a minute, but this is where you're going to write everything. So you're going to kind of say, what you want to say there. You might take a couple of paragraphs to do this. In our case, you are going to be using a couple of different paragraphs to kind of include this information. And then last is the closing or the salutation. And this is where you say, thank you, your name or your signature. And then thank you, or maybe you say, regards, or if you want to be very, personal with the person, say sincerely or love. So you're going to say here at the bottom, sincerely, Mr. Miller. Okay, so you're going to be writing, since you're writing to your yourself in the past, you're going to address that in the greeting, and then you can just say, from yourself here. So from Mr. Miller, whatever your name is. And then the last thing that's not shown on here is a postscript, which it just means it's something after the letter. So it's something that maybe doesn't necessarily fit in the letter, but you want to tell that person as well. So underneath where you have your closing or your salutation and your signature, underneath that, then you'll write P.S. stands for postscript, or P.S., and then you'll write that last thing you want to say, usually just a sentence or two, something pretty short that you couldn't fit in the letter, but you want to still tell this person. And you're going to include a postscript or a P.S. In your letter as well. So those are the kind of things that you need to make a letter a letter. Make sure you're indenting your paragraphs. Make sure you're capitaling words like sincerely or dear. And then make sure you're putting the date in the top right. And that's kind of how you make a letter or writing a letter.